Our vision at Storied Church is to embody the inclusive love of Jesus Christ where every story matters.
And our mission at Storied Church is striving to embody the inclusivity of Christ by affirming and celebrating all people.
We do this by creating a safe and welcoming space where good can happen, cultivating meaningful relationships where questions are explored and stories are honored.
We share life and ministry through gathering, worship, and service
so that our community becomes more just, compassionate, and whole.
I invite all of us to say our prayer of illumination together. God of truth and grace, open our hearts and minds by the power of your Spirit. Help us to hear your word with clarity, receive it with humility, and live it with integrity. Amen. Today's scripture passage comes from Ruth, the first chapter, and verses 6 through 18. Then she started to return with her daughters-in-law from the country of Moab, for she had heard in the country of Moab that the Lord had considered his people and given them food. So she set out from the place where she had been living, she and her two daughters-in-law, and they went on their way to go back to the land of Judah. But Naomi said to her two daughters-in-law, "Go back, each of you, to your mother's house, and may the Lord deal with you, or may the Lord deal kindly with you, as you have dealt with the dead and with me. The Lord grant that you may find security in each of you in the house of your husband." Then she kissed them, and they wept aloud. They said to her, "No, we will return with you to your people." "Why will you go with me?" But Naomi said, "Turn back, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Do I still have sons in my womb that they may become your husbands? Turn back, my daughters. Go your way, for I am too old to have a husband. Even if I thought there was hope for me, even if I should have a husband tonight and bear sons, would you then wait until they were grown? Would you then refrain from marrying? No, my daughters, it has been far more bitter for me than for you, because the hand of the Lord has turned against me." Then they wept aloud. Orpah kissed her mother-in-law goodbye, but Ruth clung to her. So she said, "Look, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after your sister-in-law." But Ruth said, "Do not press me to leave you, to turn back from following you. Where you go, I will go. Where you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God, my God. Where you would die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord do thus to me, and more as well, even if death parts me from you." So when Naomi saw that she was determined to go with her, she said no more to her. This is the word of God for us, the people of God. Thanks be to God.
Hi, everyone. This is Jason. A little different today. I'm coming to you Monday after Sunday because our sermon sometimes doesn't record all the way. But I want to make sure if you're coming to stay in the know on the sermons and what we're talking about, that something was there for you. And so here we are. This is our third week in a series that we've been doing the past few weeks, Cultivating Meaningful Relationships. And we've been exploring how relationships we hold might be meaningful, healthy, and good for our well-being. And we've been using the acronym created by Brene Brown, Living Big, BIG, relationships that have boundaries, integrity, and make generous assumptions of one another. And last week we talked about the value of naming our boundaries in our relationships and the importance of honoring our own boundaries ourselves and also honoring the boundaries that other people set is a key component of meaningful relationships. Today, we're going to explore what integrity means in the context of cultivating meaningful relationships. This is one of those words that is often thrown around, especially in evangelical contexts, and in a word that might make us feel shame or not good enough. And so I just want to name those are possibilities, and my hope is that we might, at the end of these next few minutes, we might be able to turn around, and that might be reframed in a different light at what integrity is. We're so often infatuated with the integrity or lack of integrity of others, typically around infidelity or affairs. Did you hear what so-and-so did? It's like onlooker traffic. But I want us to hold and to think about our own value systems that we hold, and maybe our own, the gap between our value systems and our behaviors. And to do an analysis, I think sometimes we look at other people's lives because it takes the emphasis and the spotlight off of us. So I'm going to be using a Brene Brown quote on her definition of integrity is choosing courage over comfort, choosing what is right over what is fun, fast, or easy, and choosing to practice our values rather than simply professing them. That people, when they hear our values, they're able to go, oh, yes, I get it. They embody this in their life. As I think about relationships, integrity is the life force of any relationship. And relationships that have been hurtful and harmful can probably be put in at least one of these buckets, that boundaries were crossed, or a person lacked integrity or did not do what they said they would do, or relationships that were judgmental and lacked generous assumptions and an innate goodness in one another. And so maybe you've had a relationship that faced immense conflict, and because of it, the relationship ended, or someone said and professed values and did not live into them, and that created a very harmful relationship. And so I think I say all that to say that integrity is important in our relationships, and to have these conversations around what does integrity mean for you and what does it mean for me. And so as we think about what it means to live with integrity, the place we might go, like I said, is how others aren't living in integrity. But what might it mean for us to reframe integrity as the values that we hold as a person and the behaviors that we do to embody those values in our lives? And I think this calls for deep self-awareness in ourselves to explore what are the values that are important to me, what are the stories behind those values, and then how might we continue to foster and embody those values in our lives and in our relationships. And I love this story in Ruth. It's one of my favorite Old Testament books. Easy read. It's 4 chapters long. I think she demonstrates the epitome of what integrity might look like embodied in a life. Quick summary, Naomi moved to Moab with her 2 sons, a distant country away from where she grew up. Her sons married 2 women, Ruth and Orpah, and then her sons both died. And so Naomi decided to go back to where she was from. The beginning plan was that her 2 daughters-in-law, Orpah and Ruth, would go with her, and then she kind of has this awareness of there's no life ahead of us with you. You have a better chance of surviving and thriving where you are now, better chance of marrying. And so she tells them essentially to go back and to stay in their home country. Orpah goes, sure, all right, I'll do that. Ruth says, no, don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from you. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, even if death separates you and me. And then when Naomi realized that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped urging her not to go. You can get the sense, We don't need to ask Ruth, hey, Ruth, what's your values? You can get the sense that Ruth carries the values of courage, determination, selflessness, loyalty. Our values, the demonstration of integrity, show up not in the pristine, put-together moments of life, but when everything feels like it is falling apart, we get a glimpse of who we are, and others get a glimpse of who we are. I want to invite us, and maybe you can do this practice after we're done if you continue to listen, but to take a moment and to think about what are one or two values in your life that are very important and significant to you in your own life. I think that's important. What are the values that are important to you? We probably can name 30 values that all of us go, those are awesome values, but typically we pick one or two to really hone in on how we live into. And I think something about this practice is important and significant. And I invite us to do this practice with colleagues, friends, neighbors, church people that you're with, to have this conversation about values, because it's very enlightening and we get to learn a lot about one another. And one of the things that we might learn is when we share our top two values is that not everybody has the top two values. I think this is interesting because I do think we do operate from this vantage point and posture that everybody must have the top two values that I have. But the reality is, when you have this conversation with others, we realize the value systems of others are different and diverse. And part of inclusivity is recognizing, how do I make space for other people's value systems? Because often it is in our own value systems that we judge the world. It is the lens for which we view one another. And when we recognize this powerful reality that I sometimes, in judging people by the values that are most important to me, and I realize those values are not most important to them. They might be important, but they might be number 15 on their list. Another value might be. And so sometimes we see people's behaviors and they're really off to us is because that's not really a value that is instilled in them that is the most important thing in their life. And so getting clarity around what are our values. And this is great practice to do, like when you're doing a job interview, when you're getting to know somebody, when you're starting a relationship, in the middle of your relationship, when you've been together for years. This is just a great practice to ask, what are your values? And what do those values signify? What do they mean to you? An example that was brought up on Sunday is if somebody says, loyalty is my number one value, and you're interviewing for a job, that could mean a lot of things. Loyalty as I don't have a voice at the table, if I see something wrong, or that my gifts aren't welcome. Or is loyalty meaning that there's a lot of space at the table, we support one another, we are for one another, and we're always trying to create that environment? Getting clarity over those things can be really significant and empowering. I think the other thing that we might realize is not only do we have different value systems or different values that are important to us, that are important to our own integrity, but our values have a story. When someone says, hey, my value is honesty, it's like, okay, tell me more about that. And I bet you might hear stories of people lying, people misusing trust. Most of our stories, most of our values come out of hard narratives and hard stories. I think about my own life. I like this value of not giving up. When I start something, I see it to the end. Because there was a part of my early 20s, and some of it you can probably put towards immaturity. But if I just my emotions got ahead of me, or I was getting depressed or down, or I wasn't as passionate about something that I used to be, I would quit and I would give up, or something wasn't going well. And I've instilled this value in me of not giving up, that when I start something, I have to see it to the end. And that is really significant and important to me. That might not be the most important value to someone else, but for me, that value is born out of experience in my life. And so our values have a story. I think not only recognizing that we all have different values, but we tend to love and care for people out of our values. And sometimes we're confused when people don't feel loved and cared for by us. We're like, why? I'm doing all the things that I think should be loving and caring. And that's the thing about values, is that sometimes in learning about others' values or someone we deeply care about, they're really sending a message of, this is the greatest way that I receive love. If someone shares the value of respect, dignifying and going above and beyond of dignifying that person and respecting them, whatever that might mean to them, might mean a lot more than instilling my own values and loving from my own well of values in my own life. I think last, in sharing all these things, I think what's important and significant is I feel this weight when it comes to integrity, and this weight is this recognition of the places for which we have not lived into our values. It's almost like this place, that gap is a place, a very vulnerable place that can be filled with shame, that can be filled with ideas and feelings, I'm not enough, with guilt, or I'm an imposter, or I'm this old and I still have not mastered this value. And we can beat ourselves up. And the evangelical church has done this really well, because this is the message that is infused. You know, listen, you are a horrible person. You are such a bad person. You're a sinner. And this is the opposite message, that we come with this desire to live lives of integrity, to have relationships of integrity, is a recognition that God has created something good in us. And from that goodness, out of the abundance of that goodness and that connection and that creativity and that desire for community, is the abundance. That is the place for which we are fostering and becoming more and more whole. And we're all on this journey and in this work together. That there's this idea, if I'm not living into my values, that people will abandon me. And that is a narrative that I want us to recognize and to name. That is a real narrative in a lot of us, that we feel like, well, we can't be loved if I haven't lived fully into my values that I hold. But to see ourselves, we are here in one another's lives to help each other take our next step, to help each other to be whole, not to knock one another down, not to be one's inner critic, but to help each other live into our values. I love the posture and the value of curiosity, to learn about one another, about what we value, so that we might care better and so that we might understand one another, and that we might get a sense of the things that we are passionate about and care about. And that we are here together to form meaningful relationships, and that this work is oftentimes a slow work of fostering our values that we care about in each other.
Loved and fully known, beloved, believe He died to make your heart His home. You are complete. You are completely loved and fully fully known. Beloved, believe He died to make your heart His home. He says you're mine, a smile when I made you. I find you beautiful in every way. My love for you is fierce and unending. I'll come to find you whatever it takes, my beloved, my beloved. He says you're mine, smile when I made you. I find you beautiful in every way. My love for you is fierce and unending.